It is that time of year, as Shirley mentioned, where you ask about what this rebound is going to look like in China. Is it V-shape, U-shape, Nike swoosh, L? What's your take?
We actually think this quarter will be difficult as China is still battling the worst outbreak on shore. But after the very bumpy transitional period from second quarter this year, we think China will rebound very strongly. And the momentum can carry into next year as well.
What's going to carry the growth number? Is it, spending, consumption, exports?
We actually think domestic consumption will be on fire this year. I think, we have seen the consumption being sluggish ever since the pandemic. Lots of reasons go behind it. Of course, the kind of the uncertainty about the future before China reopen. And also, Chinese household never received the big handouts, money handouts from the government. And also, we have seen the labor market under quite some pressure. But now, I think, it's time when the future is more clear. People will be more willing to spend. They also accumulate about 6.6 trillion of excess saving, according to our calculation, which they can use. And of course, we have seen the government basically saying expanding the domestic demand will be their priority as well.
I'm just wondering, after years of just these regulatory crackdowns, though, you're saying consumption can come back with a vengeance. I'm just wondering, after years of tech crackdowns, property market, what does that do to animal spirits overall, though? Do you think that can come back quite quickly in just a few months' time?
I think that might take a more gradual pace, as the guest speaker just now mentioned that people are still trying to figure out what the government wants to do. But take the property as an example. I think ever since November last year, we have seen strong signal and basically a slew of measures keep reinforcing the determination to basically stabilize the housing market. And similarly, we start to see the stance change for internet sector and others. We need more guidance, and people need to see what the government is doing.
So among the measures that they've announced already on property, is there any one that stands out to you as, this one is different?
I think, it's fair to say basically the stance has changed from let's ensure we deliver all the unfinished projects to let's ensure the developers would have access to funding. That's a fundamental change. Using the metaphor, it's kind of like beforehand they're watering the plants on the leaves, but now they're trying to make sure that water gets to the roots. So that's a change we've seen. For example, they can issue bonds onshore or borrow from onshore banks and even pay off the offshore credit. So that already signaled the government's willingness to make sure the developers can be in a good shape to continue to, going as a going concern.
Is something that, like three red lines, deleveraging them, would you say we've moved past this, that this is over? Or is this just a pause?
I think for now, it's definitely, not the priority. But the three red lines, when we calculated that last year, actually majority of the developer already satisfied the three red lines. It's just the sentiment has deteriorated so much. Even, some relatively healthy developers also find trouble accessing funding. That's a big problem.
Just looking at this year, what among your forecasts or assumptions do you have the highest degree of confidence on? And what is the big uncertain for you that, the uncertainty that if that changes, that's also a big swing factor?
Actually, we're most confident on the consumption story. As we have seen from all other countries' experience, pent-up demand will dominate in the reopening process. And, we also think the property sector could rebound mildly. Probably the wild card, I would say, is, everybody's watching for the export and the inflation story. We still think inflation profile in China will be pretty much in check. But for the producer prices, that also will be impacted by the global play. So if there's some geopolitical risk on the rise, which disrupt the supply chain, that could play into the PPI story.